Karen. I thought tonight we could paint a wild seascape. I have been kind of obsessed with these lately. So we will just, I'm going to paint a larger one tonight. This one is ACEO size, so it's 2.5 by 3.5 inches. So it's little, it's a little itty bitty, but we will try to duplicate something similar on a slightly larger piece of paper. So I am using Arches cold pressed, and I am going to use some of my Masha's watercolors. And I'm using those because they're very vibrant. And you notice how vibrant these colors are. So here's my my color palette that I'm choosing. So I will pick some of these blues and some of the purples and pinks. So the purples and pinks will be towards the sky, and the blues and greens will be towards the ocean, and then we'll tuck some browns in for a little body of land there with some grasses and stuff. So we will do that. So go ahead and tape your paper down, and please make sure it's very secure this time so we don't bleed under the tape. Have a selection of brushes, a large one for putting the clear water on, a smaller one for applying the paint when we start, and maybe a detail brush. Pick out a few colors and try to make them juicy. So like all of my, or almost all of my paints are in palettes, and so you have to re-wet them to get them wet. So go ahead and give yourself plenty of time to wet and try to get pretty wet paint, because we're going to do wet on dry, so we want it to be very wet. And for the waves, we're going to try to leave some white of the paper for waves, but if you go crazy and you don't, we're going to use some Bleedproof white. You could also use white gouache, but I love this stuff. So have that for the end. Oh, and then to scrape in some of the grasses, I'm going to use this little tool to do some scraping. So you could use a toothpick or a skewer or something like that, or even just the some of the paint brushes have like that one doesn't have like a little tip, and you could even scratch with the end of the handle. Okay, and I think that's it. So go ahead and get your water, your paints, your paper tape down, and we will get going in just 1 second. I'll see you in a sec. Okay, let's get started. So in terms of composition, you'll see on this one how I don't have the horizon line, even though you can't actually see it because it's so crazy, but it's not cutting the paper directly in half. It's actually a little up. So you have more ocean and less sky. And so I'm going to try to do that here too. So we'll kind of put our horizon line about right up here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and turn this. You can always turn your paper if it's easier for you to work, because I'm right-handed, so that works better for me. So grab your smaller round brush and get it wet. And so what we're going to do is dab on. I'm going to start with some of these pinks and purples, and again, kind of thick. And we're not overthinking, we're just dabbing. And you're leaving white space because we want the white space for the waves. And then the blues, so that's the sky. And put some of your blue up there. So here's the blues and the greens. Kind of intermingle the colors a little bit. Okay, we're gonna move fast. We have to work fast. Okay. All right. Grab your big brush, get it nice and wet. I'm going to start in the sky, and I'm just going to bring the the clear water just up to this first line of paint. Okay. And then we'll go ahead and let that blend out with some water. And you can even give it a quick little tilt if you want to get it moving. See, that's moving nicely. We just need to keep moving somewhat quick. And then we're going to do the same with our ocean. So I just keep re-wetting my brush as needed. And we're trying to leave some of this white. So I'm just taking the tip and I'm blending some of it, but I'm leaving some nice white. Okay. So that's the main part. So now we're going to start bringing some of this out. So now I'm actually adding some paint. And so now you can add some blues. And again, you can try to leave some white space out here in the water if you can. I didn't really, but. Okay. So I basically used 2 shades of blue and this teal green. And then I'm leaving a little bit of space here in the corner for some land. So I'm not going to touch this right now. We'll just leave that alone and let it do its thing. Now I'm going to grab some browns. And again, like always, I'm holding the brush really loosely because this is meant to be very loose. And this will dry lighter. So that's 2 shades of brown. And see how it's already, because it's wet on wet, creating little grasses, which is fantastic. And now I'm just going to take my little tool while it's all still wet, everything's wet, and I'm just pulling out some grasses in different directions. Don't get precious with it, just because we can come back in and do some more. But you see how I have, it's not just one uniform color. We have dark, we have light, you've got little splotches. That's how I like it. And so if you have one uniform color, you can try dabbing with a paper towel to try to lift some of that off, just to get some texture and variation. Something like that. Okay. So now this has had a chance to dry somewhat, but you see it's still wet. It's still shiny. So we are going to come back in with a darker color now. So grab your, I didn't even tell you to get a darker color. Yeah, so get it like a Payne's gray, something like that, which I didn't even prepare. So here we go. Let's do some Payne's gray. And we're going to just try to build up this middle part where the horizon is. And we're not covering the entire thing. So don't like draw a line or anything. We're just dabbing in some dark to try to give it a little dimension and contrast. And this would be a good time if you wanted to add any more greens or blues. You can do that now while it's still wet. Like I like how this part was darker. It almost looks like, I don't know, there's like added depth to the ocean. So I'm gonna try just to add a couple spots of deeper water there. And then maybe a brighter blue. blue? Where's my blue? Oh, not that. I'm gonna just add. Okay. Sorry about that. I was not prepared. Okay. All right. I like it. So I'm going to leave that to dry, and then we will come back and do some more. I'll be right back. Oops, I'm back. I didn't go anywhere. I forgot. One of the things I did on these guys is while it was still wet, I took a small brush, put it in plain water, and put it in my non-dominant hand and tapped. So I'm trying to get a little bit of texture into the color, and it's very subtle, but it leaves like little marks in the paint. And so when it dries, it won't be super obvious, but it just gives it a little bit of texture. So go ahead and do that if you want to play with that, and then let it dry, or give it a dry with a blow dryer. I'll be back. Okay, we're all dry. So a couple of things that I like about this. I love the texture in the different blues because that really looks like the ocean. The place where I added the blue at the end because I was unprepared, you can see I created a bloom. But honestly, on a seascape, who cares, right? So, and I like that I left white so we can make white caps and stuff. The one thing I don't like is how there's no blue in the sky. It's too disjointed, like on... Oh, this one. Like on this one, some of the blue bled into the sky, and I like that a lot better. So, just to show you that we can always go back and continue. This is all dry. And I'm gonna go back and kind of do a second pass at this with blues. So I'm gonna take this blue, and I'm not gonna put it everywhere, but I just did like about 4 dashes of it, just because I want it to just kind of bloom up on this side. And then we're gonna do the exact same thing. We'll take our bigger brush and come in and just touch it. And go ahead and just wet the entire thing. So what's happening is, it's still not blooming the way I would like it to, but that's okay. That's the thing about this technique is you can't really control it, so. Oh, well, that's pretty. So I just added some in manually. Okay, I like that a lot better. Okay, so let me dry that now. So if you want to go back in and do a second pass and add some blue to the sky if you need to. But remember, just go lightly and don't be too heavy-handed because you don't want to cover up all your pretty purples and pinks and stuff. So, okay, I'll be right back. Okay, it's all dry, and I realized I did another boo-boo. I have a bloom now in the sky. So I'm like teaching you how not to paint, apparently. I'm gonna leave it because it's the sky and it could be a cloud or whatever. I don't think it's that big of a deal. So we'll just keep going. So I'm going to get out my Bleedproof white now. So whatever white you're going to use. What I do with mine, I take clean water and a clean brush, and I just grab some from the jar and I stick it in the lid with some water. So that's what I do. Just make sure your brush is completely clean. You don't want to contaminate your whole jar. And then I'm going to swap to my very fine-tipped brush. So I just want you to use something skinny, like a rigger brush or something like that, because I don't want you to have a lot of control. I think that's the secret of these seascapes is that you're creating something that looks wild and natural, and you're not trying to control it with your brush. So this brush is awesome, but it's like I can barely control it at all. So what I'm basically doing is softening these white marks that are left here, and I want to try to make them look more like waves. So, you know, curving some of them. And with this white, you might need to do a couple of passes on it to get it as white as you want it to be. But you can connect up the white patches with other white patches to make your waves. And see how I'm not planning anything. I'm just kind of letting the brush do its thing. Okay, when you're done with the actual horizon line, you can come out, and I found it's helpful for me to kind of start out here on the tape to get some of the paint off. So then I'm not dragging too much paint. But now we want to try to make some ripples, some waves. And I'll do the same thing over here. Just kind of bring it over. No rhyme or reason. It's a wild ocean. But any place where you have white like this, you can expand on it. Okay. And I'm in danger of going overboard, so we'll stop with that. I don't know if you have some white here up by the land, but I do, so I'm just going to add a little here. This is quite a churning sea. Okay. All right, I think that's good for now. Yeah. So put your white away for now and dry it, and then we'll come back and we'll work on some of the foreground. So I'll be right back. Okay, we're back. We're going to work on the grasses here. I'm going to use the same two browns that I used in the foreground when it was wet. So now I'm just using my skinny brush. And we're going to, I do need to hold it a little closer than normal, but we still want to keep it kind of just loose. So it's not overly tight. Oops. I'm gonna dab that. So if you get too much paint on your brush like I did, you can dab it off on a paper towel before you apply it. Okay. All right. I like that. and I'm gonna just bend a couple of these. You know how grasses at the beach, they bend. So this is like the one time I'm gonna try to be a little more careful. If I can get paint on here. Kind of like they're bending in the breeze. Oh, for goodness sakes. Oh, there we go. Okay. And then do some the other direction. And I can already tell those are too even looking. So I'm going to add another one. There. There, that's better. Okay, that looks good. So this would be the time to look at your waves, and if you're happy with it, we're just going to come back in and do one more thing. So it's time to get your white back out. And I'll be right back. Okay, so the last thing we're going to do is do a little white spatter. So I did a little white spatter along the horizon and then a little here up in the front corner. So that's what we'll try to do. So go ahead and grab your white, and you want a decent amount of it and a smaller brush. The smaller the brush, the smaller your spatters. I'm going to switch to my non-dominant hand, and I'm going to hold it rather loosely. And you might want to practice on a scratch piece of paper before you do this. And then you're just going to tap. And you see you have no control over it, but that's okay. And then I'm going to grab some more, and we'll do some spatters right up here too. Just right there in the corner. You don't need to go overboard with it. And I'm gonna call that done. I think these are really beautiful. All right, so let me dry that and we'll pull the tape off and we will see how it turned out. Okay. One thing I wanted to remind you is to take a towel or a paper towel or something and make sure that your tape is dried off before you start removing it, so you're not accidentally smearing paint onto the painting. And then when you're removing the tape, you pull it slowly and away from, at an angle, away from the painting, and hopefully you didn't have any leakage. So far, so good. All right. See, even with the boo-boos, this one over here you can't even see anymore. And this one, honestly, I don't think it even matters at all. I think it just adds to it. I think it's really beautiful, and I'm actually going to pop this in a frame because I happen to have one this size and see what it looks like. I'll be right back. Okay. Sorry about the glare of the light, but look how beautiful that looks. It was so simple too. And I did sign it, so don't forget to sign it. You should always sign your artwork. And I would encourage you to put a mat and a frame on yours and hang it up and appreciate it for a while. You don't have to hide it away in the closet when you're done, which is what I do, honestly. But I'm gonna keep this around for a while because it makes me happy looking at it. So I hope that you love yours, and thanks for joining me, and I will see you next time. Bye.